And hello, everyone. Happy Friday to all of us and you here. How are we? Hey, Callum.
Hey, yeah, fine. Busy week. Same for you, I guess, Marcin. No change here.
Yeah, we were a little bit delayed because we had a lot of things to discuss before.
We've done that a lot, and probably as time's gone on, we end up catching up more and more and more before each episode. And we have said,
Yes.
Should we just be putting the camera on and talking? I don't know. Sometimes some things are said that shouldn't be said on umbraCoffee.
Maybe it should be another channel here, backstage or something like that for umbraCoffee. You never know. Behind the scenes.
We can make it subscriber only. So like a
premium.
Yeah, premium thing. Pay us $10 a month, and you can join our pre-show chat.
Yeah, and even though Andy says that we are 70 subs away from 1,000, we are still at the beginning of our road, which we hopefully will prove by this amazing blooper.
Yeah.
So for all of those who didn't see it last week, I was unable to finish the episode. That was interesting.
Yeah, what even happened?
I don't know what happened. Probably my browser is playing around with me, and probably it cleans out the cookies. And I was logged out behind the scenes from the platform because when I left the stream, it turned out that I'm logged out from the StreamYard, the tool that we use for live streaming. But for all of you who are watching us from any episodes, at the end of each episode, we have a very awkward moment. And for my Polish friends, I can say about the show in the TV, which is called Familiada. And at the end of the show, the whole families who are participating there are standing there and just waving like that until the camera goes off. And this is me and Callum at the end of each episode. And last week we were waiting for too long.
A bit too long, yeah. Too long. We've left it on YouTube because it's a bit of fun, but we could. Someone asked me if we were going to cut it out. I think we'll leave it.
Still, Callum, I think it cut out really early because I was trying to figure out what happened. There was an error that I was reading, and we were talking and making jokes on this situation when I still thought that we are on the YouTube stream, and it wasn't streamed. So it's a little blooper, but there was more behind the scenes there that it was like. So thanks, Andy, for capturing this moment and sharing it with everyone on Twitter. So yeah, that was our start of the week, and we're still learning. We will probably be evolving our YouTuber skill set over the time. So yeah, maybe one day we'll have a behind the scenes channel as well. Cool. Let's talk about Umbraco now. Yes. Let's talk about Umbraco, starting from a product update released today by Rune, and it contains a lot of updates and a lot of things that happened recently. Not that big update in overall, right? But
we probably know most of this, which is Umbraco Commerce is launched. There's been some security vulnerabilities. Umbraco 12 is out, and now 12.1 RC is out. There's a few other release candidates as well, which we're going to talk about. I like that the UI library gets mentioned again, because we don't see like a big announcement about new releases there, whereas we do with other products. But the more exciting thing is the roadmap, I think, because
exactly.
Few items that are in now in next.
In next, yeah. Enhanced process visibility for Umbraco Cloud. So that's the way of long-running operations to be more visible for the people who are maintaining the projects on Umbraco Cloud. And the second one is about minimal hosting model for Umbraco CMS. That's exciting.
Yeah, so this is something we've discussed quite extensively on the CMS team, and it's the way that .NET has evolved. We've moved away from this startup CS, program CS, traditional hosting model, and the minimal hosting model is far simpler. We had a big debate about who owns the startup CS file and the program CS file in the Umbraco solution. Is it Umbraco? And we just have to look after it, or is it ours and we can modify it and do what we want? And that, again, sparked some debates here. But I think the minimal hosting model will be good. And I think I'm maybe putting words in Bjarke's mouth here, but my hope would be if you still wanted to use the old model, you could, because it's all just using extension methods anyway. So, fingers crossed. But,
fingers crossed for them. And it's next. So that's not actively work on. So still plenty of room for feedback and ideas from the community and people who will be using it. So that's
of course, to add to that, V13 is the next LTS. So it's really important that that's, I guess, stable, and they make certain decisions that they want to be able to make now. And this is probably one of them. If we still want to be stuck with the traditional hosting model that we've got in 2 years' time on the next LTS, well, we probably don't. So now is definitely a good time to be doing that.
Yeah. And Callum, you've mentioned the release candidates, and of course they're also listed here, but there's a dedicated blog post next to it, written by Andy, and this is containing the information about the release candidates for UmbraCoForums, and so it is coordinated with other release candidates, of course, which we've mentioned already about Umbraco 12.1. So yeah, that's a lot of release candidates, a lot to be tested.
This one's exciting for me.
Yeah. What excites you the most?
I've built custom form fields before that required the ability to take a value out of the page and display it in a drop-down. For example, we had an event page, and based on the event type, we needed the drop-down to then be different in the form, in an Umbraco form in the same page, and they don't really know about each other. So it's sort of go look up the Umbraco context, go get the content out, and based on this value, do something. Maybe people don't realize those were aggressively cached up until now. And now there is a control. So you can say, I don't want caching anymore, or you can do your own arbitrary caching. Really helpful if you're going to be calling a database or something, or an API. So you can just have those values cached. But also, I no longer have to have a very questionable bit of code that hooks into the event and like purges the cache on page load so that my pre-value actually shows up as I'd expect it to. More flexibility. Lovely feature.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's a really nice feature. And to be fair, I didn't have this kind of use case, an issue in the forums, but I didn't do anything that extensively with such complex extensions of the fields. But that seems to be a more flexible approach to everything what can be done there. So that's huge. And accessibility improvements, you've mentioned that already. So that's several suggested accessibility improvements to the default theme of UmbraCoForums, which makes the default theme more accessible, which is still great for everyone who is using the default theme too. And plenty of other updates as well.
Yeah,
a lot of fixes. So that's really, really cool.
I think we've said this before, but after so long of people crying out for forms to get some love, you'd have never have thought we'd be getting a blog post with 10 bullet points of just, oh, here's some other things we fixed as well, and plus some features. You'd have never have thought, would you?
But again, in the whole CMS landscape, I think the UmbraCoForums are and were from the very beginning a huge advantage of CMS on Umbraco CMS, because not many of CMSs out there have this kind of flexible form builder functionalities without using any extensions and being that such close to the heart of the CMS system. So I still think like this is a really massive advantage, and with the custom workflows, custom fields, pre-values and stuff like that. That's it.
Or as customizable, I guess, as well with the WordPress.
True.
The big form plugin for WordPress, I think it's called Contact Form 7 or something, or Form 7.
Yeah, Contact Form 7.
It's very rigid still. Like you can do some customization, but like people can do payments and all kinds of things with Umbraco forms. So it's good.
Yeah. That's really good. Another release and another update was coming from Pulsing, and this is the Clean Starter Kit 301 that works for Umbraco 9, 10, 11, and 12. And interestingly here, that Paul removed all the grid and the whole nested content. So it's like a cleaner version of Clean Starter Kit without the legacy property types. So that's really cool, and a lot of contributions. And the content has been updated too to mentions of umbraCoffee, package manifest, and kind of contributions and coordinates.
Thank you. Even last week's little Easter egg, which an update on that, I'll tell you, the PR has been merged, but Sebastian changed the PR code was. So it's not the umbraCoffee YouTube channel, unfortunately. He accused me of self-promotion, which I think is awful, an awful accusation. But then he's changed it to umbraco.com, which is also self-promotion.
We should bring our lawyers again. Bring our lawyers. This is the nice case. we will delegate it onto our team here, and they will contact you. That's cool. But that's really nice update. And again, kudos to Paul for making this update out. And yeah, the nested content was replaced with block list on that one. So that's a pretty nice update as well. Other update, accessibility reporter got the update 2.1, but not, and it has some of the really nice extensions here with fixes, new features, and options to, for example, exclude doc types. So it's a really nice.
This project, considering we had Matt on maybe 6 months ago,
Yep.
A little more, a little less, don't know. This has come along so far since then. It's really awesome to see. I believe he's doing a talk at the Umbraco Bristol meetup coming up as well on what's changed recently. So.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if it was caused by this package, but generally accessibility become more present topic in my discussions all over, and I always mention this package as a potential extension solution option to really do more or see more when it comes to the site's accessibility. So pretty good work and definitely worth updating to get the most out of it. The another one is Atomic SEO for Umbraco.
Yes, another SEO plugin for Umbraco, but actually it's kind of good. It's doing a bit like SEO Toolkit and SEO Checker. It's kind of an all-in-one solution. It does sitemaps, it does page metadata. The feature I really liked in here, and I don't know, to be honest, if it's in something like SEO Checker or SEO Toolkit, is the fallback value. So you can build out a field and then pick like an interface to say, "Oh, fall back to this, then this, then this," if you've not got something. It's a bit of control in the editor's hands. That
was present in one of the SEO packages for sure. But what I think here is really nice to see is this multi-site support, because that was something what we've been discussing with some other package creators, that hey, it's always good, but what if we have multiple websites? We need multiple robots.txt files, for example, or things like that. And that was not something what was very often needed. But in this case, it looks like it might be done this way. So it's really nice to see this SEO settings grouped within the microsite, which might help us to do more in one instance of Umbraco. So that's definitely worth checking out. The another one is from Richard, and it's back office editor viewer with the new log feature.
Yeah, this is cool. So, Marcin, remind me, did Cogworks build a similar thing?
Yes, I've built. It was called Content Lock. So that was something what I built for one of our customers then, and it was really nice to then, because it was just locking page from other people accessing it, and I was using relations API to do it and to check it. I'm curious how it was done here, but generally this is the really nice, easy way to prevent overwriting content by multiple editors doing the same things at the same time. So it seems to be really cool, and as my package and our package was abandoned, and
I was going to say we've seen things like this over the years, but I've never seen them actually live long term, and people go, "Oh yeah, I've got that in a project," but never get packaged up, or it would be nice if it did this and then it never quite gets there. It looks like Richard's actually running with this one, and and Laura's contributing to it as well, which is great.
We've installed it for one of the customer, and that was used as soon as I know until I left the project. But it's nice to see it, and in this case, it's also visual representation, which might be really cool. I had a lot of ideas for this package, but of course not that much time to do to implement them. So
ideas than time. I know the feeling.
That's true. But yeah, cool, really nice one here, and it's great to see something like that being available for the latest versions of Umbraco, because it's still something what I would definitely use if I would be having a site with more than some editors that are doing content changes at the same time. And two last, or a couple of others to mention, big updates. One is from Newsletter Studio, and this is version 12, and this is the first stage, and the candidate, the release candidate, or the beta version.
We had the release candidate back in June, I think, May, and May. This is the stable version. So
so pretty cool. And also Shannon released an update for ExaminX, and this is version 5 of ExaminX for Umbraco.
12, yeah. And there's no release notes, so I don't know what's changed. The release notes are for V4, but what I can note is that the minimum version has been upped from V10.1 to V12. So maybe there's something in V12 that Shannon wants to utilize. And also, there is a bunch of other updates to the underlying Azure SDKs in the minimum versions there. So I guess it's an all-round good improvement, but it's moving away from, I believe before, V4 would have supported V10, V11, V12, and beyond there was no upper limit on that. Or maybe it broke, I don't know. There's no release notes, we could never tell.
We'll probably figure it out later, but that's the ones of the updates. And of course, there was a couple of other smaller updates, right? For UHeadless, MediaWizForums, Umbraco Deploy, and Umbraco Workflow from ones that you've listed, Callum.
Mostly bug fixes and small improvements there.
Yeah, so that's possible to be seen and of course found on the marketplace and the packages itself. So that's releases, but also the Skrift issue, number 97, was released this week. And that has 2 really nice articles, and one of them I catch up. This one from Carla.
I read this one as well for once.
Yeah.
I saw this topic and it instantly caught my eye because this is something I'm particularly interested in, and some ideas I've been throwing around as well. It's great to see Carla's thoughts on this.
Yeah, and I must agree that that was exactly why I also embraced the topic and of course got familiar with that, because we were considering it. I spoke with a couple of my friends and our teammates a while ago about shortening the week or having Fridays off. And we had a couple of the companies. I can't remember if Basecamp is not the one who was advocating this kind of summer times in their book about the Basecamp and about the whole team. And of course, David Heinemar Hansen was the advocate of this kind of routines all over. And it worked for some of the companies. It might not work for the others, but generally it's good to see this being applied and tested. I don't remember, it was probably Microsoft who rolled it out in one of the countries. And then they were measuring the effectiveness of the.
We on my team, I've got a decent chunk of people who only work 4 days, and that's great for them. And that's a permanent thing. The kind of idea of a summer Friday or a summer hours is interesting. I saw a company recently that has every Friday in July through to September off, just off, like no work at all. And they said they were really nervous about how their clients would react. I think Carla said the same thing. Like, what happens when you turn around to your clients and go, "Oh, we're not available on Fridays anymore"? And they said, generally, everyone understood and everyone got it. It's better for employees' well-being, mental health, being able to spend time with kids, doing things in the summer. Carla made a great point in her article about the cost of doing so. Like if you're losing 3 hours times 10 employees, that's 30 hours. If you're billing $100 an hour or $500 an hour, like then you're losing a considerable amount of potential earnings there. But is that cost worth it for your employees' well-being? And just generally, I would suggest it is.
I think that's a really nice point of view, because I've been also talking and figuring out the cost and the of course loss as seen from the other perspective. But I had a really interesting discussion with my builders at the same time, and I described them this idea, and of course it's not something what they understand, because for all the work, every time when someone thinks that, oh, I will work longer, I will do more, but really. For example, sleep and stuff like that. If you sleep for 1 hour longer, then you are more effective, and your day is usually sometimes more exactly. Satisfying. So it's here, right?
It's not about putting hours in, and it's more about putting quality
value and output value. Yeah. So that
the other thing I was going to say there is about it was about the cost. And realistically, if you were to measure productivity, if anyone's boss is watching, just tell them to switch off for a second and realistically, the productivity on a Friday, my suggestion would be it's maybe 50% of that of maybe a Tuesday. Yeah. So are you actually losing that much in throughput or output of the company for those few days? I would say probably not. I think a lot of people rather say I will work an hour extra every day and have Friday off, or have a 4-day week, and you'll get probably a higher quality output from those 4 days, from yourself and from your team.
Yeah, I had this conversation with my friend here, and I think we'll see more and more of this, because I heard a lot about from other business owners that employees right now in our at least industry are asking for this kind of a benefit, or maybe instead of a raise, they're asking for less time at work. So that might be something what will be the new normal in this case. But I did the same kind of discussions, and yeah, we'll see. Basically, please people let us know if that's something what maybe is already a common thing across your organization, or as your way of approaching the effective work. But I do agree that sometimes I have a very much productive day, which is a little bit longer than usual, and then we all have days like when we are completely not productive and we are not able to.
We spoke about this, Marcin, either on last week's episode or after the episode, because again we like to chat after the episode too. That I'm a huge advocate of flexible working hours and flexible time. I am not that productive in the day, but from 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. through to like 4 a.m. even if I need to, I can smash projects out. I can be very, very productive. And I like the idea of saying, work when it's best for you, and not everyone is quite the same. The challenge comes when you have clients that need to be able to talk to someone, or you need to be accessible. I was going to ask for anyone that is running like a full 4-day week or shorter hours in the summer, how are you handling things like support requests, emergencies, etc.? I'd love to know, because again, it's something we've thought about. We don't really do out of hours support for our clients, but I think a Friday is probably a given that we need to be around. So
yeah, I think that this is exactly the good point, because it's not for everyone. I think, right? It's you cannot provide 24/7 hour support if you have, or maybe you have shifts or people being on the exchange of the times or days, etc. Someone can have Mondays off, for example. But I do the same, and I was always curious about how it can be solved. But I know that some of the companies that I follow and I admire, they use the very asynchronous ways of working, so they completely avoid the touch points, which are not always possible to be avoided when it comes to clients and support and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes it is, and it's really interesting, because I'm also the mostly productive between probably 11 p.m. and 3 or 4 a.m. But as soon as I'm awake on this time, because I recently tried to sleep longer and start earlier to get to sleep, and then I'm waking up at 6 a.m. for example, and then I'm productive at 6 a.m. So I'm trying to figure it out what is my productive time, but definitely it's not the same for everyone, right?
Feels like there's a lot of activity in the chat. Keep it coming, because I love to go and read through this afterwards.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Feels like we could do a whole UmbraCoffee episode or a discussion on this, Marcin. Maybe we need to read that format that we've promised for like 5 years.
Not that we need a couple of the special episodes this year, right? So that we'll find out. But yeah, let's move on. This is a really interesting one, and thanks Carla for writing this article, and thanks Skrift for publishing it, because it definitely raises a lot of awareness and discussion and thoughts. So that's really good to relate to that. And the second article, which I have on my to-read list, is from Anders, and it's working with content types and data types programmatically. It's a really interesting topic and a really interesting point. And what we can see even by the header here, it's 24 minutes read time article. So I failed after this header already. So for now,
has I think the most articles written for Skrift by quite some number, and then probably added up read time. He's now going to have, with 24-minute article, he's going to have. I mean, look how long the scroll bar is.
Yes, I'm just scrolling. Keep talking. So that's plenty of examples.
We've done a few of these things recently, be it for importing content, migrating content, for we're working on a bit of code at the moment where it's kind of utilizing the blueprints feature in the CMS and doing stuff there. So we're doing a lot of stuff programmatically with content types and data types. It's interesting, and if it's something that we were going to do more of, I'd be really inclined to invest a bit more in nicer APIs for doing it. There isn't really an API for doing these things cleanly. For those that don't know, there is a kind of semi-fluent wrapper around the content service, and I think maybe the data type service or content type service in Umbraco, but it's part of their test library. So you can have like a fluent API for creating certain things, but it's not quite there. And Construct doesn't quite go there either. I would love to see a fluent API for us to do code first things, be it for testing, be it for quickly splitting stuff up, be it for easier migrations. So having like a package go create some entities, some data types.
What was the name of this CLI? Chauffeur.
Sure. Yeah,
that was having a really nice approach to that. But I just scroll this content and I cannot amaze myself, because it looks like a Bible for dealing with every possible use case that can be approached from the perspective of manipulating Umbraco data types, and it is probably handled here. So that's amazing. That's something what I will definitely share with my teammates. So. I was helping recently for someone who was dealing with the issue of saving the data into the drop-down field. And for some people, it's not that obvious that it's not a typical value set. It's a little bit of more of data. But in this case, it would be really good to extend documentation with it. And these examples will definitely cover a lot of the cases.
We had this exact discussion this week about, we had a numeric value that now needed to be multiple values. So awesome. Firstly, if I could have like a repeatable numeric field, a bit like the repeatable text string, sure. I looked, is it possible to take like a numeric and just change it to a repeatable text string field and the data all maps over? It's not. Is it possible to take like a checkbox list and then make it a repeatable text string? It's not, because some are stored as arrays, some are line break separated or new line separated. There's all these different things. I'd love to see some consistency there. Also, maybe a concept of like a data type value converter. So when I hit save it and change my data type, it maps the data between two things. But yeah, people don't necessarily know the subtleties and the differences there. And when you're working programmatically, it's really annoying just trying to get that data structure correct so that the editor still works.
But the whole hope here right now is with this APIs and some kind of unified way of approaching this, as you mentioned, because even with this more present headless scenarios, you need to set this data somehow, right? You need to have this data coming from somewhere, usually in a lot of integrations. So there must be a way, and ideally, if it will be one way with some processors maybe in the meantime, but yeah, that's a really good topic, and yeah, Anders definitely has a lot of knowledge to drop and share, which is proved by this article. So
yeah, wow.
A nice one. That's the releases, and that's the information from the list. Now events. Quick reminder of what events are ahead of us, starting from the summer barbecues and summer socials.
Barbecue, and it's today, and I'm just going to check the weather because it's looking questionable, but we're going to do it anyway. It might be fine. Touch wood. It might be fine. I'm wearing my.
Yeah, I was going to say that you're promoting. This shirt is amazing. I'm so sad that I was not attending this event, because this shirt is just standing out when you are just wearing it. So that's really cool. So yeah, everyone interested or planning to go to this summer barbecue, and do not look at the weather forecast and just join, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's good. And next on the list, our Kerala Umbraco user group is hosting a meetup on Wednesday 9th, and it's about introduction to Umbraco, creating controllers, Q&A sessions. So it's more technical walkthrough.
We've spoken about this before, but it's so good to see they're doing like maybe 2 a month. Fairly technical meetups and getting really good engagement, and they're virtual, and yeah, it's awesome. Really great work from the team behind that meetup.
Yeah, and again, it's really nice content, and 21 people already signed up, so that's definitely something what will keep up the numbers. And next is DK meetup group, what's called Random Week Up that we've mentioned a while ago. So this is on Wednesday 9th as well, and the barbecue in London, the August 11th.
Next Friday, and it's looking like it's going to be an excellent day weather-wise. So if you're in or near London, sign up for this. It'll be good to see people.
Yeah, 13 attendees so far. So yep, that's one. And the meetup hosted by Bushra and with Nurhak speaking, which you've mentioned a while ago, is on August 15th. 26 attendees sign up already. And that's open twice. I don't know why. And last meetup on the list is hosted by Thomas and Aaron, and it's under Bristol, Wednesday, August 16th.
Yes.
Talking commerce, social, and a lot of other things. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one too. Other than that, events-wise, Umbraco UK Festival 2023.
Yes. Tickets on sale, of course. Go buy them. They are, it's going to be a good event. Been sorting a lot of things in the background this past week or so for this. It's all starting to come together. We're going to have a I won't spoil anything, but some quite exciting stuff we're going to be doing. So
I can just say that Callum, off the record, said to me last week that it's worth to really be there. So it's for everyone. So everyone, I can share this.
I did say that to Marcin. I did say that. So yeah.
Yeah, so definitely worth to be there. So secure the date and tickets and observe. And if you want to share the knowledge on the event, you have also the call for speakers open until the 1st September.
So 4 weeks today, I think, or 4 weeks yesterday. But ultimately, we need as many good talks as possible. So submit your ideas, and we'll be accepting them as we go, rather than necessarily up to the deadline. So you could have your talk accepted and confirmed before. If you don't worry, it will be reviewed at the end as well. But yeah.
That's really good. And two other events that are having already call for proposals closed, but they have tickets in sale. So September Dutch Festival tickets are on sale. Agenda is going to be updated. It's not updated since the last week at least.
No, it's not. And Arnold's been in Egypt, and Henk is also away. So I guess they've been busy.
Probably. And the other one is Umbraco US Summit that closed the call for proposals this weekend. And it's also probably will reveal some more details. But if I followed the tweets, the early bird tickets are
they ended yesterday. So
ended yesterday. Okay, that's why the tweets were.
Was it super early bird?
Super early bird.
Until September 14th, get an early bird ticket.
Yeah, but there was probably a super early bird or something else, because there were some tweets and discussions if speakers will be announced or decided before. So that was the closing date. But the tickets early bird tickets are still on sale here, so everyone in the US can or interested.
We've had super early bird and early bird, but you still don't quite know what you're actually buying a ticket for because there's no detail announced yet. So take a bit of a gap.
Hopefully more to come. More details will be released after the summer break. We will observe and share if we'll learn anything about it as well. So that's two, and that segues us to another discussion from Twitter, and not only Twitter this week. So umbraco.com, and a little bit refreshed version of the site. I don't know if I'm zoomed. Yes, I'm zoomed.
Tell Marcin because the text is so big, so you don't know if you're zoomed in too much.
That's true. There was a lot of feedback about the new refreshed version of the site, right?
There was a lot of feedback, including, so I can say that a few different Slack channels I'm in, be it the MVP channel, the Code Cabin channel. I know that Discord and Twitter also people had a lot of things to say about this, and the feedback was gathered and has been very rapidly addressed by HQ. Like, kudos to Runa and Wojtek and whoever else has been working on this, because they've really listened and have actually worked through at least the major things quickly. There was huge performance issues when it first launched that are now like they're scoring. Runa shared a screenshot earlier. It's not quite live yet, but they're hitting like 90 on, 91 on page speed, which is.
And it was 25 or something like that when it was live.
Something like that. Even
it was
worse maybe at some point.
But I think that was really good example of collaborative review session, and we were even talking about doing some kind of live, maybe not review, but live kind of overview or checkout or health check of the solutions. Maybe not directly on umbraco.com website, but generally it was like someone is specialized in accessibility. They pointed out this issue. You've spotted some things. I spotted some UX ideas, right? It was like a collaborative. There was a document flying around the VP channel with a lot of feedback gathered. That was interesting to see.
There was usability improvements, there were suggestions, content suggestions, everything down to, as you said, accessibility and more. I think ultimately with the Umbraco community, you've got a group of very passionate experts. I said this in the MVP channel. Everyone wants this to succeed. Developers don't like change. Surprise, surprise. But equally, that's a huge resource that you should be leaning on to get feedback before something just gets thrown out into the open and gone, okay, now go use this, because it wasn't good enough when it launched. But we've all been there on projects, haven't we, right, Marcin, where something right goes live?
I've asked this question, of course, with a smiley face next to it, how it was possible. And we know that how it is possible because we were all dealing with the same situations, always the battle of time, value and effort. But in this case, it was a really quick reaction of the community, plus the people who are implementing this are really trying hard to fix it as soon as possible.
Someone needs to fix the button in the top right.
Yes.
It says try umbraco.com.
Another feedback, but in this case, there is a mixture of old site, new components, new things. It's a lot of. I mean,
it's a big site. You're never going to get all of that content migrated and whatever for a big bang launch like they did. So, I think to be fair, they've prioritized really well. Runa's clearly put in a big shift here to get this to the state it is now. But
did it get updated just when I refreshed it?
In real time, perhaps. But I think realistically at this point, the feedback's now going to be about design and usability. It's a change compared to what was there before. People are going to take a while to get used to it, I think. And there's already been a bunch of improvements there. The one thing I noted, and it's cheeky to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I like being cheeky. I'll put the axe banner up in case I get one.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, it is a Umbraco 8 solution. It's not the latest because again, it's a huge moving system with the partner portal and all kinds of stuff in there. It's using the block list, which is great. So they're leveraging their new features and stuff. They built it with web components, which is following along the lines of everything that they're doing, which was also part of the reason they had some of these performance issues where it's just in terms of prioritizing what loads. It's also, as a result, technically a headless solution because each web component is responsible for fetching its own block content from a web API. They haven't used Hardcore or the inbuilt REST API, I guess because it's an existing site with lots of stuff on there. But what I would really love is for HQ to actually write a write-up on why they chose this architecture. Why did they choose to build their site this way? This is not, I would say, a conventional way of building an Umbraco website. I personally have never seen an Umbraco website built in that way from a modular or even a headless perspective. So I'd love to know what inspired it. Is this based on an experience from some other company where someone said this is how we're going to do things? Is this based on how they're doing things in cloud or in their other projects, in the marketplace as well, for example? Because I know those are all following a similar sort of pattern.
Or maybe some doors for composability or anything that we maybe don't understand from that. That's a very good question because I can admit that I was.
If the long-term plan is that they could move this to Hardcore or move this to 10 plus and have the REST API, then awesome. But like, I'm very intrigued as to why.
Me too, and I can say that I spoke with one of the developers who was doing a lot of changes, because I was curious how web components and Vue.js components are bundled within the MVC architecture, because it's a mixture of both worlds. Because we were trying to find out also how to do it on our side, and it was really nicely done. And as I show here, it uses the shadow root and the web components and all the stuff from web component stuff. But also interesting, what we found when we were testing the accessibility of this site, that these headers from the shadow roots are not exposed to the tool, so it can affect some SEO stuff as well. And that's a really good example on how this kind of changes in architecture drivers can result in maybe some predicted or unpredicted results in various areas like SEO, performance, and stuff. So that's a really nice use case, and of course we will all hopefully learn from each other on how it helped, how it not helped maybe on some of the areas. But in this case, it's a living organism. We know that this is a very old solution too.
I've just, from your screen there, I've seen clearly there's changes rolling out. I know Runa told us earlier chatting that there's a staging environment where they've been testing some stuff that they'd have hoped that could be out sooner, but isn't. It seems the way they've fixed this performance problem is by inlining all of the JSON data that would have been loaded for each component. So before, those were all API calls. Now, if you look at it, they've literally got blobs of JSON inline in those elements. You won't see it there because it's all dynamically loaded anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But again, that's an interesting thing. The web API calls were slowing things down. This is clearly an interim solution, or this is a fine solution. But what benefits does this architecture now give over just an MVC app where you're doing all the rendering server side? Like, could this be a case where we've got caught up in latest cool technologies? We want to use block lists. We want to make it headless. We want to make it web component based, and actually at the cost of an effective application. We've all been there, haven't we?
But that's again, I was not hiding this information that I'm very skeptical towards the implementation of both headless, composable, and many others microservice driven architectures just to do so. So it's always great to see motivation and drivers why it's done and what benefits it can bring in the long term as well. So that's maybe another topic for another long episode's discussion, but it would be really good, and I hope that, and I'm sure that Runa and other team members in Umbraco HQ will or are listening and will share some more context of that, and we will be able to all explore that.
I'd love to see the learnings come out of this, because I think there's a lot that everyone implementing websites generally, but also Umbraco themselves and us as Umbraco implementers could learn. I think the final message here, the final learning really is that testing in production probably isn't the right way to do this. Have a rich community of experts at your fingertips. They're super passionate and will give you the feedback that you're after from accessibility, design, performance, build, architecture, all of it. And sometimes you don't want those opinions, and that's fine. But ask as well. Like, everyone will always be willing to give advice. And I think the same goes for client projects too, like not Umbraco HQ. Us as a community, the community will always share feedback. So
it's called soft launch or something like that, right? It's like a new.umbraco.com.
I would suggest it's it is. Yeah, that's probably the better way of doing it. It was I think this might have been tied up in, because they launched officially the Platinum Partner program this week, and in doing that, a bunch of press releases came out, so I guess they needed a website that reflected the Platinum Partner thing, and so there might have been a bit of pressure. I don't know.
Okay, right.
Oh, whilst I'm doing hot takes, I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to shut up first. There's been a lot of people this week shouting about the fact that they're Platinum Partners on social media, which is awesome. Congrats. The words that I have seen so often, though: we have been awarded as a Platinum Partner. We have been recognized or like selected. It's like, I'm sorry, you haven't. You paid
but again, it's 21st century. We all know how the things works in the world, right? But I've spotted it as well. But of course, it's always good to promote that, and I spotted it as well. But this is the same with the Microsoft partnerships, any other software vendor partnerships too. And from the one point of view, it's good that it's aligned, but at the same time, there are some awards that are still granted for some of the partners, like contributing partner and things like that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Contributing partners now available for platinum and gold, so you have to be a platinum or a gold partner to be a contributing partner.
And this might help both sides to really then get awarded and recognized at the same time, to be standing out in front of the others. So
for sure.
Yeah, it is refreshed. I haven't seen this page, to be fair, yet, so that's it looks really good, and definitely will help to partners and potential partners to understand what they can get from partnerships. So yeah, that's the end of the umbraco.com update. And again, community can still help and still share the feedback. Everyone is listening. It's really great that it was fixed and addressed really fast. And we will see more updates to come for a new website built there. A couple of hot takes and hot shots at the end of the episode, starting from John D. Jones and his update of the headless website with Umbraco, content-derived AI, and Next.js. Very clickbaity topic.
But an excellent article, really, really excellent article. And he's been so good. We've said we need to get him on, don't we, Marcin?
Yes.
He's been so good at putting out incredibly relevant content, like at the right time. And this is the first proper V12 headless article I've seen. And looks really, really good. So.
Exactly, that's really good. So John, we will contact you. Our team will contact you. That's exactly what we need to do. That's a great article. Next one is from Andy, and it's about migrating an API from Newton sub.json to system text JSON. So that's another interesting one.
Good one. We've just done this on a project, and it caused a lot of problems that you wouldn't have expected it to cause. So.
Not always that easy.
A lot of stuff that it's named exactly the same thing, but maybe works a tiny bit different, or is just now the names have all moved around, and nice and confusing. But
a lot of lessons here from Andy as well. It seems like it's a common pain in the migration process.
I love seeing technical blogs content from the Umbraco HQ team. Like Shannon's insights, like, oh hey, we've been debugging this weird issue with app services and whatever, was always super valuable, and you'd find something there. Again, Andy's content in recent years has been excellent too. It'd be lovely for us to see more of this.
Yeah, and it was a not a single one this week, because Sebastian also wrote an article about using JWT tokens to access the Umbraco API controllers. So that's another one which is really cool and pretty common, I would say, scenario to be implemented, especially in the new modern communication between the API services and stuff like that. So it's also very packed and knowledge heavy article from another HQ member. So thanks, Sebastian, for this one. And there's another one from Richard Jackson this week, and T-shirt isn't coming. So I like this information. So it's if you deploy from Azure DevOps to Azure App Service and you got 500.3 error, that's potentially why. And it's a really nice updated reply on our highlighting some of the checks to be done to solve the problem, and that's a really nice one for everyone struggling.
That tip there about media, the media non-existing, actually I think is an Umbraco bug that an issue needs raising for, because it should be handled better. It should be handled by the Umbraco boot process. It shouldn't be bombing out before the app can even boot, basically.
Sure.
So someone raise that, and let's get it fixed in V13 or sooner.
Yeah, so plenty of good findings and knowledge sharings, and that's all from our list, if I'm correct.
Busy week.
Busy week, exactly. A lot of things, and still a lot to be discussed. So please, people, if we missed anything, let us know, and we'll definitely share it next week, because as usual, we'll catch up next week.
Indeed. If you, of course, if you liked this episode and liked all the hot takes that we need to stop, maybe do a few less of in future, but we'll get there. It's been quite a fiery few weeks. But make sure you like and subscribe, because
Exactly.
we'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers very soon. If you could help us get there, that would be awesome.
Yes, and now I can try to end the broadcast again, and Andy make the recording up, because that's a really good question if I will be able to do that. But if so, have a lovely rest of the Friday. I hope the weather will fix for the barbecue today, guys. Enjoy and share whatever you will learn, and we'll see each other as usual on next Friday.
We will.
So
Bye-bye.
thank you, everyone. Bye bye.